Hello and welcome to Real Madrid TV and live coverage of the final training session ahead of the second leg of Real Madrid's Champions League last 16 tie against Ajax. Real Madrid will be looking to get back to winning ways on Tuesday, hoping to qualify for the quarter-finals for their 9th successive season. They take a 2-1 lead into the game after their victory in the first leg away from home 19 days ago, but there's still work to be done at the Bernabeu, Phil.
There certainly is. This tie is far from over against Ajax. A 2-1 win in Amsterdam, a very good result, but it's obviously not definitive. We saw that Ajax are a very good side 3 weeks ago and capable of causing Real Madrid problems. But in that game 3 weeks ago, Real Madrid's superior European experience really told out. Even though they were under pressure, they found a way to win the match and put themselves in a really strong position. So yes, they're looking good to make it through to the quarter-finals, but they have to completely focus on getting the job done. It is effectively just half-time in the tie. Real Madrid with a good score at half-time, but obviously the game is not won. Looking to make it through to the quarter-finals again. We've made it through to the semi-finals in each of the last 8 years, which of course is a record. Looking to extend that this season and hopefully go further as far as possible in the competition. Real Madrid have been European champions for over 1,000 days. That could come to an end tomorrow, of course. They could be knocked out of the tournament tomorrow, so have to be completely focused on beating Ajax and making it through to the quarter-finals. Despite having that excellent first leg result, it is not over, and that is a message that I'm sure the manager will make sure that the players are fully aware of.
It was Marco Asensio and Karim Benzema on the score sheet in the first leg. We can see the Frenchman in the images there in this rondo. He scored 4 goals in total against Ajax, and the goal in Amsterdam saw him become the 4th highest goal scorer in the history of the European Cup, with 60 goals, 48 for Real Madrid and 12 for Lyon. What an achievement that was, the 4th highest scorer.
And there will be many more goals as well scored by Karim Benzema in the Champions League. We know that it is a competition where he just tends to explode really with these great goals and really impressive performances. Obviously he is a player who this season has taken the goal-scoring mantle upon himself. 20 goals in all competitions for the Frenchman, but we know that in the Champions League he just well, he feels at home, he feels comfortable, and he scores plenty of goals, and that's what we need, of course, on Tuesday. We need him to keep that goal-scoring run going and to see how far he can take Real Madrid in this competition. We know that he's struck up a really strong partnership with Vinicius Jr. This season. The two have a really good understanding. They enjoy playing with each other and they complement each other very well. So let's see if that can be a fruitful partnership for Real Madrid, not just, of course, on Tuesday night, but for what remains of the season.
Real Madrid got their Champions League campaign off to the perfect start against Roma at the Santiago Bernabeu. A 3-0 victory with superb goals scored by Isco, Gareth Bale and Mariano Diaz. It would certainly be good to see a repeat of that performance on Tuesday evening. And there is really something special about Champions League nights at the Bernabeu. We always say it feels different on a European night there.
It does, and it will feel extremely special on Tuesday evening. It is a big European game. Ajax will bring a lot of supporters. There will be a really, really good atmosphere inside the Bernabeu. Under the lights, midweek, European action. As we said, it is something pretty special, pretty unique. If you've never managed to be at the Bernabeu Madridistas, well, we know it's so many people's dreams to be able to come and see one game at the Bernabeu. But if you get to see a Champions League game there, it is something special. As we said, under the lights, there is this aura around the stadium, around the team. They know that this is their competition. And the fans know it as well, and it is something to to behold. So looking forward to it, and I think the players are looking forward to it as well. It is a really big game. Obviously had a disappointing result on Saturday evening, but you've got this massive game to bounce back from quickly as possible. And if we put in a good result and make it through to the quarterfinals of the Champions League, that will help overcome the disappointment of the weekend game against Barcelona. So obviously doubly important. The most important is to make it through to the last 8 of the Champions League once again. But it's also significant to try and just recover that little bit of morale. We know that no one likes losing a Clásico. No, don't like losing any game, but you don't like losing a Clásico. The fans don't, the coaches don't, and the players don't. But the best way to recover is by putting in a good performance in a really important game, and Tuesday night's game is really, really important.
And Santiago Solari with almost a fully fit squad now. Just Marcos Llorente to return from injury, so he has lots of options to choose from. On Tuesday we saw similar lineups on Wednesday and Saturday last week, just 2 changes on the Saturday. And it won't be easy for him to choose his starting 11 on Tuesday evening, looking at the talent out there on those pitches.
He's been pretty clear that having as many players fit as possible is absolutely vital, Santiago Solari. And we're coming into the business end of the season. As we know, there's less of a third of the season left in La Liga. We're heading into hopefully the quarterfinals of the Champions League as well, and this is where titles are won. And if you can have your whole squad fit and available and firing on all cylinders, that is absolutely vital for any manager. And yes, it does feel like there is going to be only one player potentially missing, and that is Marcos Llorente. So we want to get him back as quickly as possible, because this season he's shown himself to be a really important member of the squad. But apart from him, everyone else out there training and moving pretty freely, looking pretty good, and looking like they're going to be available for Tuesday night. And as we said, the manager is absolutely convinced that that is perhaps the key to success in this latter part of the season, making sure he has as many players fit and available, and on Tuesday night he should do so. That is good news.
Madridistas, if you're just joining us now, this is the last training session ahead of the second leg of the Champions League. Last 16 tie against Ajax. The first 15 minutes will be open to the media, then the final preparations will take place behind closed doors, and after that Santiago Solari and a player will be speaking in the press conference. That's around 12:30 Central European time, so make sure you tune into that. Always interesting to hear what they have to say ahead of a tough game, and on the back of 2 difficult defeats to take last week. But I'm sure the main line will be that they want to turn things around as soon as possible, and that team morale is high and hasn't changed after those 2 matches last week.
Absolutely, it always is difficult to lose a game. It's always difficult to lose a game against Barcelona. So we've lost 2, we know that, we can't hide away from that. However, the manner of those defeats, there is something to be taken from the way Real Madrid played both last Wednesday and on Saturday, in so much as they had a lot of possession, they created a number of chances, they had plenty of shots on goal, they just weren't able to finish in the final third. So it's much better to lose like that rather than losing 4-5-6-0. I mean, that is an obvious thing to say, but it's true. And Real Madrid were able to get on the ball, were able to restrict Barcelona to just a few shots in both of those games, and that is something positive. Obviously, it's not positive to have lost the games, but it is perhaps positive to have lost in the way that Real Madrid lost. So, obviously, trying to take something positive from every match, because there's always something to learn from every game, whether you win, draw or lose. On this occasion Real Madrid lost, but certainly lessons to be learned and things to try and continue. There's been good work done by Solari, his coaching staff and the players, both at Ciudad Real Madrid and out in competitive matches. Now they have to keep doing that and do it again against Ajax. Obviously, the game against Ajax in Amsterdam perhaps wasn't one of Real Madrid's best European performances, and yet it was a typical Real Madrid performance, in so much as you always felt that Real Madrid were going to win this game. They had more know-how about them than Ajax, more they were more streetwise. They knew how to get a result from the game. Ajax, raw, young, inexperienced, an exciting side, but that doesn't necessarily win you games. And Real Madrid showed in that game against Ajax just how difficult they are to beat in their competition. This is the Champions League. This is Real Madrid. They are 13 times champions of Europe, and it's going to be very, very difficult to knock them out of this competition. Everybody knows that.
And in the last 16 stage last season, Real Madrid also won 2-1 away from home. It was against PSG. And then they won 3-1 at the Santiago Bernabeu against them. They had a really, really tough campaign last season. PSG, Bayern Munich, Juventus, but they made it to the final and they won it. And Real Madrid now just 4 matches. Well, this is the first of 5 matches away from a place in the final, which doesn't seem too far away now.
It's very close indeed. And the campaign last season was interesting because Real Madrid won all their away matches in the knockout stages. They won in Paris, won in Turin, won in Munich, and then at the Bernabeu they had some good performances, but also some really, really tough matches, particularly against Juventus and indeed Bayern Munich. So two-legged European ties are like that. You have to put in good performances over the 180 minutes. It's not enough to go away and produce a good performance in the first leg and then not kill off the tie in the second. And Real Madrid know that. As we said, vastly experienced squad. 3 times we've won the Champions League in the last 3 seasons, with the core of this squad all being involved in that as well. It's not like there's been massive squad overhaul. All of these players, practically all of these players, are European champions, so they know what it takes, they know what they have to do, and I'm pretty sure they're going to do that on Tuesday evening.
And Real Madrid will have the home advantage. The fans will be the 12th man on Tuesday evening, and what an arrival that was last Wednesday for the team. Spectacular images on Real Madrid TV that evening of the bus arriving. So many Madridistas out in force to welcome the team. The players said just how much they appreciated it, and it really helps them when they're going into the tough games to know the fans will be behind them throughout the full 90 minutes.
It is always so impressive to see how the Real Madrid fans turn out at the Bernabeu before a big game, particularly in Europe as well. I think this tradition started perhaps with the semi-final against Borussia Dortmund in the Champions League back in 2013, where Real Madrid needed a big remontada, and they almost got it. Was so very close to making it through to the final on that evening. But yeah, that remontada began out on the streets beforehand with the quedada, with the welcome of the team bus. It was absolutely spectacular, and ever since then we've seen these spectacular welcomes for Real Madrid at the Bernabeu. Thousands and thousands and thousands of fans lining the streets to welcome the team bus before big games, and there's absolutely no doubt that that is a huge motivating factor for the players. When you're on the bus, inside that bus, looking out and you see thousands of faces cheering you on, knowing that they're going to be behind you, it has to help. It absolutely has to help, and the fans know that they're going to play a part in what remains of the season. It is absolutely vital that they get behind the side, and they absolutely will on Tuesday night. You can be sure of that.
The Champions League is also a competition which feels like Real Madrid's competition. They're the only club to have won it 13 times, which is absolutely unbelievable when you think about it, Phil. And 3 in a row, 4 in 5 seasons.
Well, no one comes even close. No one comes even close to those numbers. That's how superior Real Madrid have been in the Champions League. It is Real Madrid's competition. It is the competition for which they have the most affinity. Real Madrid know that this is a special competition for them, and that's why we see really big performances from them. As we said last season, knocking out Bayern Munich, Juventus and Paris Saint-Germain to get to the final, where they beat Liverpool, really beating the cream of European football to win the title for a 13th time. And hopefully we'll do something similar again this season. Obviously got to get through the last 16 to make it through to the quarterfinals, and again we don't want to get ahead of ourselves speaking about perhaps winning it for a 14th time. Obviously that is the goal. That was the goal at the start of the season, but to do that You have to take it round by round, and we're not yet through to the quarterfinals. In a good position, yes. Through to the quarterfinals, no. And while we might be getting excited about a potential quarterfinal, we can't, and the players can't either. They have to focus on beating a very dangerous and very talented Ajax side, and they will be focused. They will be absolutely focused on making it through, because, as we said, they've got know-how. They know how to get through European two-legged ties. We've seen them do it against really, really big teams over the last 3 or 4 years. And we'll see it again on Tuesday.
The rondos are over. Onto a speed drill now. We'll leave you there, Madridistas. Thank you for joining us. A reminder to tune into the press conference in around about an hour's time. See you then.